I want to welcome you to my glass workshop. And I want to welcome you to this video series on self-care. And I want us to take a bit of a journey about self-care, because the minute I say that, everybody goes, oh, she's going to talk about food and exercise. And that's a piece of it, but it's a much larger topic. And that's what I want to explore here. And actually, I'm going to do that from my glass workshop. Why is that? Because this is a space where I do self-care. This is a time where I just dream and create. And that is one small facet of self-care. So I'm going to be creating a project for you, well, with you, I guess. And I'm going to talk at the same time, we think, about your self-care and how you're going about that, because it matters how you put the pieces of your life together, and that matters a lot. When you're doing stained glass, one little bump in one little spot can shift everything else, and you want all your pieces to line up so that you make a pretty picture or at least a coherent picture with your life, and everything is in order. And the picture that you want your life to be is actually what you portray to those who look at your life. So it is a time for me, as I come into this glass workshop, it's a time where I can only think about one thing, because, I mean, this is glass in here. Here's a piece. This is glass in here, and you can cut yourself. Says and I always have here's my stash of. I always have those handy because it can be a little dangerous in here. But it's a time where I can only think about one thing, and that's what I'm doing now. And if you think about how your brain works, we tend to, run forward to where I've got to do what I've got to do next, and look behind us at whatever regrets or things that happened in the past. And it's a real essential thing for us as part of our self-care to stay in the now. And that I got to tell you, that can be really, really, really tricky to stay in the now. So I'm going to talk about different aspects of self-care and how they connect to creating your life in a very specific way. For me, and what hit me recently is where Jesus said, what are the top commandments? And Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And we will, we hear a lot of discussion about that, a lot of good discussion about that. But then the next thing he says in love is love your neighbor as yourself. And you think, okay, I've got to love my neighbor. And then as yourself, adding that's the yardstick that we use. Loving ourselves and the way we love ourselves is the yardstick to loving our neighbors. So it really made me think about, if I'm not loving myself well, if I'm not taking care of the body that God gave me, if I'm not slowing down and being in the now and taking care of my body, how well am I able to love my family, my friends, the people God has given to me to influence and lead? You have to lead yourself well first, because if you can't follow yourself, how is it that we think other people are gonna follow us? If I'm not even following me, why would they follow me? I don't know. So it does matter how you put the pieces of your life together. And this came home to me recently when I began a new this came home to me recently about what it feels like to have to shift your life around a bit, because let's face it, um, none of us are doing our lives perfectly. None of us are probably doing our self-care perfectly. And I'm not ever saying you have to do this massive list here. What I'm going to say to you is, as I go through many areas and aspects of self-care, I'm going to say to you, what one area is God really pressing on your heart to attend to at this moment? So I recently started another stained glass project, and it was something I was doing as a thank you gift for my husband's boss, who allowed me to have my glass shop over at his place rent free for almost 2 years. And it was kind of a COVID story, and I'll spare you that. But I was over there for 2 years. I wanted to do a thank you project. I got a piece. In fact, I think I have that piece. It's in here. Yes, it is. It's in here. It's in here being framed. Having these things attached so that we can install it. But here is the piece that I worked on, and this is a gift to him. But I bought that center section from an artist, and we're going to be working through with another piece that I bought from him, and he creates those. So I bought that, and with that, I've been following his stuff, and I realized he was doing stained glass way differently than I was doing. I had been trained, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's just a different approach. But I had been trained to, plan and then create your pattern pieces, select your glass. Then you're going to put all of your pattern pieces on all of the glass. You're going to cut everything out. You're going to fit it, grind the edges so you get all the little stuff off and you get your pieces in order. Then you assemble everything. You put foil on everything. Now you've got a big thing. And if you've got a lot of little pieces laying there, none of them are, set in stone. They're movable little pieces. It's not like a puzzle that snaps together. They're all just kind of sitting there. So, and then soldering all of it. Now, along the way, though, you might find that you get some pieces that just, for whatever reason, don't fit right. Sometimes you might have to go back and recut something. But what the process was everything, plan, cut, foil, solder, everything. Whereas this gentleman has you take, say, a corner of your piece, and let's use this as an example, because I did do this piece using his process. So I would cut out this, and this. I would solder. I would cut them out. I would grind the edges, and then for these 3 pieces, and then I would foil these 3 pieces, and then I would solder these 3 pieces together. So the rest of it's not cut out yet or anything. Then I might go to this piece and just cut this piece out, grind the edges, foil it, fit it, solder it. So, okay, so now we've got these pieces are soldered. They're permanently attached unless you take them apart intentionally with solder. But so this is a different process, right? So I'm doing each piece, and actually what happens is you get way more focused attention on each piece, which then allows for you to have a much better fitting big project at the end of the day, going through it like that. So I did that, I said, okay, Jerry, I did that. And I was going to sit here and read to you some of the comments that I had with Jerry, because I thought, well, I'm going to try this, And I'm going to give this a go, but I said to him, this is what I, this is what I said to Jerry, because I'm working this through, and I said, I can't tell if I'm going slower or what here. So as I'm doing his new way of doing the same art process, same stained glass, but different process. As I'm doing this, I'm kind of feeling a little disoriented, a little like, I don't know, is this going quicker? Is this going slower? What? I just felt, so I'm messaging him. And that's what I told him. This is very disorienting the first time you do it, I suppose. So I want to say to you that as we talk about sustainability in your life, in your ministry, because you have to get off the hamster wheel to hear what God is saying. You have to slow down because God is asking new things of us in this crazy transitional time for the church. So you have to get off the hamster wheel so you can hear, and that might mean reassembling some things about your life and how you go at it, how the pieces of your life fit together, or how your life is framed. What kind of overall picture are you painting of your life? That's my question that I have for you as we journey together and just kind of talk about these things and explore.
So I am in the season of doing some hearts, and I sell some of my stained glass at a local shop, just the smaller pieces, but I went into heart production here. These are my patterns, and I've got a couple sizes, and then even a really big one. I cut these on a glass saw just because they're tricky. That's what I would say to my 3.5-year-old grandson. It's tricky to cut these. So I cut them on a glass saw, and maybe I'll do a demo on that without the sound. I don't know. I'll see. But here's what I have is this was just some really cool glass here. And so I thought, all right, I will cut a couple of those, just plain old Jano hearts, right? So they're in process. But then I was looking around in my mighty glass collection, and I found this glass, and I thought, oh my goodness, what else would you use this glass for? Like ever, what else would you use it for except for a heart? Now, you notice there is a line through the middle of the heart, and you might think, oh, she's being artistic. Sort of. Here's another one where I decided to mix it up a bit. I've got, this is kind of a light, I don't know if you can pick this up, but it's not white, but it's got a slight pink cast to it. And then I put in some of this. And again, you can see this line, and you're like, is she being artsy-fartsy? Maybe, but maybe not, because I do want to make a point with what I'm doing here. So I'm probably going to use this piece here to show you what it is that I'm doing and fix it for you. If I left this heart just like this and intentionally didn't do anything to it, in time, this ridge here, and I would snap it for you, except I get a little funny about when I've spent time on something and wrecking it. But it would easily snap, actually, even though it's soldered on both sides. It could easily snap, or at the very least, you could say that it's a weak point. And in the stained glass world, we call this a hinge, interestingly. It is a hinge. And so as an artist, you have to do something to kind of bolster it, to make it strong. You know, I could do something like that, a piece of wire from there to there, and down here. I don't know. It just, I messed with that for a while and just went, oh, I'm not doing that. It just didn't look right to me, and kind of messed with the whole thing that I was doing. So what I have to do instead to remedy that hinge point is to buffet it with something. So this is what I chose to do. I took some 20 gauge wire and twisted it like this. I have a nifty little under $10 tool that helps me to do that. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to attach it here at the center, and I'm going to run this piece all the way around. I would then get a second, and I'll do this for you in just a second. I would then get a second piece and run it around there, so that crossing the hinge is this supporting wire, and it becomes much more stable. Now, I'm going to show you how I do this. And I get all my tools here, and my soldering iron is on. It's 400 degrees. You know, for those of you who can read upside down, you can verify that it's 400 some degrees. I don't want to mess around with that. And I'm going to put my jersey gloves on just because, so I don't get burnt. It's not my favorite thing to do. But the first thing that I do is put some flux around the edge here so that it sticks. So when you solder, you need to put the flux down onto, there's already a coat of solder around this. And then I'm going to hope that I can do this looking just so sweetly for you. And I'm going to attach this one right here in the center. And you can see that this is a sport for the overly perfectionistic people to do. I don't know if you can hear that very satisfying sound from the solder. Yeah, I'm going to do it a little harder on there. Let it really, because I'm going to twang it around here. And then I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to be very meticulous in how I do this. Let me see here. Not trying to make anybody seasick if I can help it. Either I could just start sending out free samples of Dramamine when I do this for you. I could do that. You hear that very satisfying. So, and I'm going to continue around here. Again, I'm strengthening the hinge, because if it's left on its own, it's not going to fare well long term. And I haven't had anybody yet come back with a piece that says, hey, this fell apart. Knock on whatever wood I can find around here. So I'm usually pretty conscientious about what I'm doing. But you certainly don't want your heart to fall apart, would you? You know, not that any of us have ever had that happen, right? Certainly if you're in ministry, you have had your heart fall apart. And I think probably some of you, maybe, I don't know, just a couple, have come unhinged at times. So we want to prevent that. And I would do the other side and tidy that up a bit. There you go. There you go. So this is going to, especially when I put the other side on, this is going to strengthen actually the hinge, and in theory, the heart will not come unhinged. So I want to ask you today, how's your heart? Are you feeling like you're coming unhinged? Do you know maybe that there's some things you need to do for yourself so that you can love your neighbors as yourself? So if you're loving yourself well, it further enables and enhances your ability to love others well.
So, this video series is about leading yourself well and looking at your life, looking where there might be weak spots that need to be buffeted and strengthened. Because at the end of the day, we all think that self-care, oh, she's going to talk about food and she's going to talk about exercise and yeah, fuel and movement. That's just a portion of what we're going to talk about. But I see sustainability, self-care in a much broader and more holistic way. What we're going to talk about in this series is about how our end of the bargain with God, which is taking care of the gift that God has given to us, our life, our bodies, taking care of that component. Not that the spiritual isn't important. Yes, it is critical, but we have to remember that we are mere mortals here, and we have to be taking care of our end of the deal, which is an act of stewardship towards the body and the life that God has given to us. We have to lead ourselves well. Lead ourselves well. So I want you to join me in this video series. There'll be weekly-ish releases where every week I'll be working on a project. Here you'll get to see it mostly from start to almost finished. And I want you to just, take the time to join me as I do my self-care and then help you do your self-care. And how you can join up is I am going to be putting an event up in my Facebook group, which is Sustainability, the number 4 Ministry Leaders. Sustainability for Ministry Leaders. You can sign up that way. And then you can also sign up by email. Email me at crabbypastor@gmail.com. crabbypastor@gmail.com. So those are 2 ways that you can take part in this event, and you will get a link to the newest video in the series. And this is hopefully to take you on about a 6 or 7 week process of really diving and digging into what does self-care and what does sustainability in ministry really mean? What does it really mean to me in my life? And how can I do my part so that I can go the distance with God, so that I can live into my call in very real ways, and so I can hear the new things that God is asking of me. Be blessed. Be blessed this day.